Karuna Sindhu Dinavana Chat Pateko Vishko Kakantaran Kantanamasti Tapta Kansna Gara Devi Navanishwe Vishvanish Devi Pranamama Ripi Franka Kalpta Vishake Pasiname Vishampat Number One Vyo Vashim Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadhika Gaura Bhaktavini Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare 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 Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaurvani Pachayani Nirvasi Srinivada Paskachani Dasattam Srila Prabhupada Ki. So today we will discuss the last chapter of the 6 middle chapters of the Bhagavad Gita. And this chapter is entitled Devotional Service. In the previous chapter, at the end, Krishna has said, Bhaktiya Vananyayas. So become my unalloyed devotee, Krishna says. Become my unalloyed, my pure devotee. So Krishna was thinking, that's what I want, but is that really the highest? Is that position secure to be a devotee of Krishna? So he wants also, he's convinced of that, he wants Krishna to explain it for our benefit, that we understand what is the highest. Is the highest Brahman realization, or is the highest Bhakti, becoming a devotee of Krishna? And these are personalist and impersonalist realizations. So these personalist and impersonalist realizations, they have each their process, and they have their characteristics. And these characteristics, they are explained here in the first 7 chapters of the Gita. In the first 7 chapters, the comparison is made between Brahman realization and Bhagavan realization. We don't speak about Paramatma realization, that's the realization of the yogis, but between Brahman and Bhagavan. Why is that? Because Arjuna had the wrong idea in the beginning that I renounce, I give up everything. And that's the practice of the impersonalists. They try to give up everything, but that's based on avidya, on insufficient knowledge of the absolute. That because if you say I'm going to renounce, I give up, that means that something must have been yours that you give up. But nothing is yours in this world. Nothing is ours, it belongs all to Krishna. It's like someone says, oh, I give up the house of my neighbor. People will say he's a little mad, giving up the house, it's not from him. So it's a kind of insanity. But the impersonalists will say, I gave up my house, I gave up my wife, I gave up my family, I gave up mine. I gave up that, but nothing is ours. So that's false renunciation. That's based on the idea, this is mine. That real renunciation means understanding things are not for my pleasure, but for Krishna's pleasure. And I use it in Krishna's pleasure, for Krishna's pleasure. So, but here you will have a whole list here of a comparison between the 2 processes, Brahman realization, the impersonal process, and the Bhagavan realization, the devotee. And it compares the processes, and we will gradually go through that the comparison of this is their realization, and this is a chart with the process, and this is another chart with impersonalist nature, mentality, philosophy, action. So that we will, in that first session, that's what one of the main things we will discuss. So we will start with the first verse. Arjuna uvacha evam satayukte bhaktispam paripashte yeshap aksharam apyaktam tesham keyoga vitamaham. Tesham, which of the two? Which of the two? The devotional service or worship of the impersonal Brahman. Aksharam Avyaktam, worship of the impersonal Brahman, or Bhaktas Tvam Parapashte, the Bhaktas who worship. What is the best? So Arjuna inquired, which I consider to be more perfect, those who are always engaged in your devotional service, or those who worship the impersonal Brahman, the unmanifested? In the purport, Srila Prabhupada defines the personalist and impersonalist. The personalist devotee engages himself with all energy in the service of the Supreme Lord. In the service of the Supreme Lord. That, yes. And the impersonalist also engages himself, not directly in the service of Krishna, but in meditation on the impersonal Brahman, the unmanifested. Meditating on something impersonalist, which is unmanifested. Good luck. Unmanifested. How can you meditate on it? So Bhakti Yoga, devotional service, is the highest. That Krishna has indicated that in many chapters. At the end he says, 6th chapter, Yoganam, Abhisarvanam, Madhyanam, Trapanam. So the yogi is who is in love, united with me, is the highest, he says. That united in love with me, that's bhakti. That and before he said Bhaktam Sakatapsam Sarvlokmaishvam Suradam Sarvabhudnam Kyatfamam something Ruchati. That he says, I'm the supreme enjoyer, I'm the supreme proprietor, I'm the friend of everyone. And when one worships me, one becomes peaceful, something. So there are all indications, and at the end of the 11th chapter he said the same thing. At the end of the 9th chapter, Manmano Bhakto, the conclusion was the same thing. That so this throughout the whole Bhagavad Gita. Thus Krishna indicates in this chapter that Bhakti or devotion service to him is the highest of all. It is the most direct and the easiest way for association with the Lord. So in practically every chapter the conclusion has been that one should be attached to the personal form of Krishna, for that is the highest spiritual realization. So Krishna, Arjuna wants to know that his position is secure. So it's very important that we as devotees know why is Bhakti is supreme. We explained already yesterday or the day before about how yoga is a complete yoga, is 5 qualities. But there is a bit more to say about that. Therefore, I will go to the Bhagavatam. The Bhagavatam, the beginning of the 6th canto. In the fifth canto, all the planetary systems are described, whole Vedic cosmology, and at the end of this chapter, canto, there the hellish planets are described. So that he has described hellish planets and how the people are suffering there, great suffering. That so then Arjun, no, it's Maharaj Parikshit, having a pure heart, so he felt compassion. We have that compassion, no passion. Compassion, he felt compassion for all these living entities, and he said to his spiritual master, Bhakti Prabhava Swami, all these people, all these living entities in these hellish planets, they suffer so much. How can they avoid going to these hellish planets? So he's asking this question, and then that his spiritual master asked, yes, they don't have to go there if they perform prayaschitta. They counteract their sinful activities with austerities, penances, and so on. There's also, you find that also in other religions, that this penances. When I was a practicing Catholic, I went on Sunday to the feast regularly to confess my sins. And then you have to step into a cabinet. It's a threefold cabinet. In the middle, the priest is sitting, and at the side, you have two sides where each side one man or one person fits in, and he's in the middle in the cabinet, and he doesn't see who comes, because it's so-called anonymous. And then he opens the raster and hears the sins, the confession of the sins. And then he tells, oh, good, this is your penance. You chant 20 times the prayer of Our Father in Heaven, and 20 times the prayer, or 30 times the prayer to the Saint Maria, and you are forgiven. And then you do that and you are forgiven. So there was this priest in Texas in the 70s. He was the priest of a Catholic parish. And all the parishioners, they came also on Sunday to confess their sins. And they entered the cabinet, and I was hearing their sins. But it was a small village. Everyone knew everyone. Everyone knew everyone. So it was hearing. It's anonymous, but you recognize the voice. Oh, that is the end. And they confess their sins, and he gives them their penance. You have to do that. It's counteracted. But he did that for 15 years. And 15 years, always, the same parishioners came to confess the same sins. After 15 years, he said, there is no progress here. And somewhere or another, he was reading Srila Prabhupada's books at the same time. Yeah. And after 15 years, he said, there is no progress here. And he gave up his priesthood for the Catholic Church, and he joined the ashram. and it's still there. It didn't work. And when Maharaj Pariksit heard this from Sukadeva Goswami, he said the same thing. It does not work, he says. He says, Kvashit nevatate badrat, kvashit sharati tat punya, prayashta matopratam manye kunshara shalchavat. Kunshara shalchavat is like the bathing of an elephant. Sometimes one who is very alert as not to commit sinful acts is victimized by sinful life again. I therefore consider this process of repeating sinning and atoning to be useless. It is like the bathing of an elephant. For an elephant cleanses itself by taking a full bath and then throws dust over its head and body as soon as it returns to the land. So you take a bath, you come out, the elephant comes out of the Ganges and is clean, and then with his trunk it takes dirt or sand and throws it on his back and is dirty again. So he says it's like the bathing of an elephant. It doesn't work, and that's very interesting. The spiritual master said that's the solution, and then the disciple said, I don't agree. Our Acharya said, yeah, Sukadeva Goswami asked this question to test Maharaj Pariksit if I was really alert. What is then the answer of Sukadeva Goswami? Yes.
Which verse is that?
That I read just. Yeah, 6 cantos, 6, 1, 10. And it's the spiritual master replies, Tapassa brahmacharyana samena sadamena cha chahena sausabhyam yamena niyavenava. You must concentrate the mind. One must observe a life of celibacy and not fall down. One must undergo the austerity of voluntary giving up sense enjoyment. One must then control the mind and senses, give charity, be truthful, clean and violent, follow the regulative principles and chant the holy name of the Lord. So he says, to give that up, one should chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare, and follow the 4 regulative principles. And then come to the level of devotional service. And what's the solution? Kasit Kavalya Bhaktya, Vastev Parayana, Agamdum Vanstikastnya, Niram Ivabaskara. Only a rare person who has adopted complete unalloyed devotional service to Krishna can uproot the weeds of sinful action, with no possibility that they will revive. He can do this simply by discharge of devotional service, as the sun can immediately dissipate fog by its rays. So it means all the other processes, this impersonal process, the jnanis, or the yogis, or whatever yoga process different from bhakti, it will not help, because the desire to sin remains in the heart. The desire must be uprooted, must be changed. And only bhakti is doing that. The other process is not. Therefore, bhakti is supreme process that has the power to change the heart, to change your motivation, to destroy the attraction for the sinful activities of so-called enjoyment of the body. So that's why bhakti is supreme. And Sukadeva Goswami gives an example. He says, it's like you have a bamboo forest. The forest is full with bamboo sticks. and then someone comes and cuts all the bamboos just above the root, and the whole forest of bamboos is gone, but the roots are still there. Then the raining season comes and it rains, and the bamboo starts growing again, and soon it's there again, the whole forest. So this impersonal process does not uproot the desire to enjoy. So I am explaining that because yesterday Tarun Krishna Prabhu, he asked me, what's the relationship between the Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita? And I give now just one example, but there are thousands of examples like that. That how the Bhagavatam is clarifying and explaining much more deeply the principles of Bhagavad Gita. So to understand deeply Bhagavad Gita, we must study Bhagavatam after this course. That, yes. Second verse, Sri Bhagavana Vacha, Mayavasya mano yamam nitya yukta upashti, Shodaya payopitas te me yukta tamamata. Krishna immediately gives the answer in one verse. He says, the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, those who fix their minds on my personal form are always engaged in worshipping me with great and transcendental faith, are considered to be the most perfect. So he says, yes, those who fix their mind on me, on my form, and will worship me. Two things. Fixing the mind on Krishna, that's meditation. Meditation on the deity, meditation on Krishna. And worship, engaging of the senses. The senses have an engagement. But those who are focusing or meditating on the Absolute, they have to meditate on something formless. Very difficult. Empty outer mind. Good luck. And they have to restrict their senses. No sense gratification. But the devotee, he engages one's senses. So that's very difficult. And Krishna says in the second verse, yes, Bhakti Yoga is the best because you can fix your mind on me, it's easy, and you perform devotional service. And then, but he says, and in the next two verses, he speaks about impersonal process. So that we understand what's this personal process. Yet vaksharam anirdesyam avyaktam paryapashate sarvajam asintyam sakutastam achalam dhruvam sanyan yandriya raman sarvatra samabhutaya tepapnuvanti mameva sarvabhuta hiriterita. But those who fully worship the unmanifested, that which lies beyond the perception of the senses, all-pervading, inconceivable, unchanging, fixed and immovable, the impersonal conception of the Absolute Truth, by controlling the various senses and being equally disposed to everyone, such person engaged in the welfare of all at last achieve me. So this is an indirect process. At last achieve me. What does it come? They achieve me, they achieve devotional service, then they come to Bhakti. That's the point. Yeah. This is explained already in the second chapter, in the third, Paunam kyan namante kyan vama pavachte Vastev Savamiti Samatma Sudurlabha. This impersonal stuff, after many years, they come to the conclusion Vasudeva is all pervading. Varnam Jnanamante Jnanamama Pavachate Vaseva Savamiti Sarvabhutait. And it's takes anything in verse 7th chapter, I think. 7th chapter.
Does it mean that you're going up to
Just a moment. Let me clarify this first. 7:17 and 7:19. Varnam Jnanamanate Vasdeva Jnanapamampavachse Vasev Svamiti Samaha Masadurava. After many births and deaths, evil is actually knowledge, surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes. Such a great soul is very rare. So in the Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada said, after many births, the man of wisdom seeks refuge in me. That refers to this verse also. After many births. So it's a process of many, many births. And finally one has to come to the point of realizing Krishna is everything, is all pervading. That, yes. You had a question?
Does it mean that you're going up to the Brahman realization after that because you don't have the conception of personality of Godhead? After that you're going back down to the material platform, and after that if someone devotee give this understanding about the personality, after that you realize and start devotional service, or step by step gradually you develop this consciousness.
This process of devotional service, of impersonal meditation, the next verse Krishna will say is very troublesome. Because Brahman realization is not complete self-realization. It's realizing I'm Brahman, I'm not this body. But they don't realize who they are. They don't know they are Mama van Sushivelike Shiva Buddha Sanatana, that they are a part and parcel of Krishna. Because in the 3rd chapter already, Krishna has explained in the 3rd chapter to Arjuna, the soul is by nature active. You cannot stop activities. Artificially, the soul is active by nature. And that action, that natural action of the spirit soul is devotional service. And that gives pleasure to the heart. It's good. Suppose they achieve the Brahman realization and they enter into Brahman. Brahman is situated between the spiritual worlds and the material world in the Brahma Jyoti. And they enter the Brahma Jyoti. And they are situated there, and it's suddenly a good feeling. No miseries anymore. Peace after so many births. Wow. That's very good. But after a few millions of years there's nothing to do here. It's boring. We want activity, and there is no activity. Therefore, Avisuddha Buddha, the intelligence is not completely pure. Pure intelligence means knowing who we are. Therefore, it is said in the Bhagavatam, Yen yer vandaksi vimuktamanast fayasta bhava Avisuddha Buddhaya. It says, yes. The yer vandaksi vimuktamanast. The vimuktamaninas, those who merge in this Brahman, they think themselves vimukta maninas. They think themselves liberated. But Avisuddha Buddhaya, their intelligence is still impure because they don't know who they are, and therefore they have to come back. And just send the reference for you from the Bhagavatam. It's in the 10th canto. Syenyera vindakshi vimuktamana stvasta vava visuddha udaya. Aruya krishena prampadam tadam padatyantanadrita yusma angraya. 10:32. Prayers of the demigods to Lord Krishna in Devaki's womb. O lotus-eyed Lord, although non-devotees who accept severe austerities and penances to achieve the highest position may think themselves liberated. These are these impersonals. They think themselves liberated. Their intelligence is impure, pure. They fall down from their position of imagined superiority because they have no regard for your lotus feet. Because they don't obtain the bliss of devotional service, and they have a need of interaction, and because they are not situated in Sambandha Gyan, they don't know who they are and who Krishna is. They don't know that the activity of the soul is devotional service. They cannot enter into the spiritual world. But for the spiritual world, you must be situated in Sambandha Gyan and in Abhideya. Engaging in devotional service, because that's what they do there. But they are not eligible to go there, because they don't have this realization. They have a partial realization, I'm not this body. Why don't they come back? They have to come back, it's all for nothing. And then even to attain that, that's very troublesome. Klesa digatrasti samabhyakta shakta shit samabhyakti katyadukam dhyavapyati. For those whose mind are attached to the unmanifest and impersonal feature of the supreme, advancement is very troublesome. To make progress in that discipline is always difficult for those who are embodied. It's very difficult. One must understand Brahman, study the Upanishads, learn Sanskrit, try to understand it, and one becomes attached to the impersonal Brahman feature. And then it becomes very difficult to become a devotee later. That's also for many Indians, that's a block. They are attached to that idea, culturally and to their. But for all Westerners, we never heard of it. It was no problem. It's a bit like, yes, there was a music teacher, and someone comes to him and he said, "Oh, you want to learn to play music?" And the man said, "Yes. Do you know something about music?" And said, "No, I don't know nothing." And he said, "Oh, okay. I'll charge you like $5 per lesson." And then someone came and I said, "Yes." He asked them, he wanted to learn music, to play a music instrument, and the teacher said, musician said, "Yes, I'm willing to teach you, but what do you know already?" "Oh, I learn on myself this and that, and that." Said, "Yeah, I will teach you." And the man said, "How much you have to pay?" And said, "Oh, $10 an hour." So by asking $10 to one who knows so-called already, and $5 for the other, because his explanation was because the person who so-called knows something, I first have to get him unlearn what he also so-called learned boldly, and then I have to teach him. So it's more difficult to teach him because he knows the wrong things. And that's the same thing. Yeah. So the group of transcendentalists will follow the path of inconceivable, unmanifested, impersonal feature of the Supreme Lord are called the Jnana Yogis. Jnana Yogis, those follow the impersonal path. The Jnanis, they try to understand Aham Brahmasmi. By 1980, I'm not that, I'm not that, I'm not that, I'm not that. That's I'm not a mind. Anyway, by that they come to the point of understanding, but not realizing. So it's troublesome. It depends on one's own endeavor. But devotional service is different. We understand Krishna by performing devotional service. Krishna gives us the realization. And it's completely natural, because that's what we are. So and all our miseries are going by, because Krishna gives us realization. We start to realize I'm not his body, all this endeavor for sense gratification. It's a laughing stock, it's not something serious. And it's Krishna who delivers them from Maya. But they are not delivered from Maya. Not at all. They are Avisuddha Buddhaya, their intelligence is impure.
Perhaps it's possible one question?
Yeah.
Because we know that every soul, every jiva has a form, and you mentioned that we spoke a few classes ago that because of the soul has a form, we have a form like a subtle body, and we have a gross body form. And how the impersonalists go in Brahma Jyoti, what kind of form they have, like, and
it's formless.
Formless form.
Arupam, no form.
But the soul has a form.
Yes, the soul has a form, but they are in ignorance about that. Krishna and Srila Prabhupada said, yes, the spiritual body is there, but our spiritual senses are covered by a subtle body and a gross body.
So they go in the Brahma Jyoti with some kind of subtle body? Or how they go with the impersonalists? How they go in Brahma Jyoti with some kind of subtle body, or just the soul goes because the soul has a form? And I cannot understand.
Yeah, like the yogis. The yogis. It's in Bhagavad Gita, in the 6th chapter, you may remember how that goes. One must leave the body at a suitable time. During the first 6 months that the sun travels in the north. And within that period, one must leave one's body during the 14 days that the moon is waxing. And one must leave his body during the day, not during the night. A lot of conditions. And then yes, they can get to the Brahma Jyoti. It's explained how it works there. But
yeah, my question, maybe I wasn't very clear, was, do they perceive the Svarupa of their own Svarupa when they go in Brahma Jyoti?
No.
So
because they don't have self-realization. They realize I'm not this body. Their Svarup, the Svarup is, our Svarup is revealed to Lord Krishna in the higher realms of devotional service. That because we chant Hare Krishna, first we must purify. Our chanting is impure, Namabhas, or our devotional service is impure. But our heart becomes purified. when the heart is purified, completely purified, that's Nishta. That's Brahman realization. That's the same level of realization of those who enter Brahmajyoti. But that's the beginning of spiritual life. For them that's the end. For us that's the beginning. Then, if our heart is pure, we develop love of Godhead. When we develop love of Godhead, and you come to the stages of Asakti and then Bhava, before Prema, then Krishna will reveal our Svarup. Our Svarup is already revealed before. We are Das, a servant. But what kind of servant? That's revealed later. But impersonalists, they don't come to that point that I'm Das and a Das and a Das. I'm the servant of Krishna. I'm a part and parcel. Because they don't believe in Krishna. How can they come to the point of part and parcel? It's impossible.
Because we also see that, like when Krishna killed Shishupal, it's described in Bhagavatam that his soul went out of his body like a glowing, like a
entered the glowing effulgence of his body. Everything that exists is Krishna's body. And the Brahman effulgence is the effulgence of his body. He entered that effulgence, yes. Everything is in Krishna's body. So he attained impersonal realization, Brahman realization. But he could not enter the Vaikuntha Lokas. For that.
Isn't it something like if you go to the sun planet, you have a body from fire? So it's like if you're in this effulgent area, you have just effulgent body from this kind of matter.
Yeah, Srila Prabhupada gives that example. That you have the sunshine, the service of the planet of the sun, and then within you have the deity of the sun, this Bhagavan realization, Paramatma realization, and the Brahman realization. Brahman realization is a partial realization. It's the realization of Sat. I'm eternal. I'm not this body.
Is there
but Chit and Ananda is not there. Sat Chit, that's the yogi's realization. But still no Ananda. The real bliss is not there. It's just freedom from material miseries. Then Sat Chit Ananda is the realization of the devotee.
But does the impersonalist have still like a subtle body because they have false ego, because they don't have real ego? If you don't have real ego, you have false ego.
No, real liberation, they give up there. To enter the Brahmajyoti, you must go to the coverage of the universe. You must leave your false ego behind. They get rid of false ego, but they didn't realize their real ego. They didn't realize who they are. You understand it?
Yeah, but it's a bit, maybe it's not very...
One is that I know I am Brahman, but I don't know who is my father. The relationship is not there in Brahman realization. I know that I am Brahman, I am not this body. So that knowledge is there. But the knowledge of the Absolute, that is partial. They think that my goal is to merge into that impersonal effulgence. They don't have the concept that I am the part of the Supreme Lord. So that's their knowledge is incomplete. For him, it's complete, that I am just like you, you are Tarun Krishna Das. But what's his relationship with others? Who is their father? So the Gyanis, they don't have that relationship.
Yeah.
That's why, because they don't have a relationship, so they stay in a place where there is no concept of relationship. Brahmajyoti, there is no concept of relationship. You know, you are free from the material existence, but you don't have spiritual relationship. So what you do in between? That is the situation of the Brahman.
Thank you. That's explained in Birad Bhagavana Vritam. The Prabhupada, he enters the Brahmajyoti.
You see
And I see this effulgent light, and then, but when he goes progresses in the Brahmajyoti, because who is the presiding deity of the Brahmajyoti? It's Sadashiva. And Sadashiva is there, and sometimes with his companions he performs Sankirtan to the Brahmajyoti to liberate all these impersonals.
Sadashiva is in Brahmajyoti.
Yeah, Sadashiva. That is the source of all Shivas in all the universes. Is on the spiritual position completely. Sadashiva.
It means control of Brahmajyoti or no? Sadashiva.
Well, that's his abode. That's the abode of, the Brahmajyoti is abode of Sadashiva. Yes, please.
Maharaj, how I, like, in terms of this question, I heard that we all have love for Krishna, we have Sachitananda, the potency of the soul, but when we come in contact with the material nature, we become like a zip file, like this spark, the spirit soul, which is 1/10,000 of the tip of the hair, is like a very small thing in which there is everything. So unless Krishna reveals to us our true identity, we remain like small spirit spark. That's why Agasura and Shupal, they entered into the body of Krishna, but those who actually Krishna revealed their Swarup, they go to the...
Yeah, it's a question. You just have to know who we are, and what spiritual activity is. And spiritual activity means action. And that action is devotional service. That's what they do in the spiritual world. Unless you come to practice that, you cannot enter in the spiritual world. If you are still attached to sense gratification, then you won't be happy in the spiritual world, because there is no occasion for sense gratification. We must give that up, right?
But many devotees, they think they were in the spiritual world, they have certain body there, and they fell down and they forget it, and now they need to remember it. But actually it's not working exactly like this, because if we develop this prema, we will not fall down.
Yeah, you try to understand with your intelligence, why did I come from the spiritual world? Why did I fall down? That you cannot understand. We have to accept that. It's the last snare of Maya, trying to find out. Srila Prabhupada said, yes, you are in the middle of the ocean. You are in the middle of the ocean, and you are drowning. And a boat comes to save you. And the boat comes and you say, and they want to save you, and you say, no, I first want to know, why am I here? No, you just get out of it. When I asked this question to Srila Prabhupada, to Prahlad Nandamaharaj, he said, yes, you will understand that when you are back in the spirit. But it is not that, because in the Bhagavad Gita he said, one who goes back to the spiritual world, he never comes back. The devotee asked Srila Prabhupada, but Srila Prabhupada, if I want to come back, can I come back? Srila Prabhupada said, yes, you can come back. So we have our free will. We have our free will. Why did we fall from the spiritual world? That some curiosity. How would it be to be Krishna? And it happens. But normally these ideas do not come up in the spiritual world. When it's completely satisfied, why should one think like that? but it's a tricky point that, yes, best not to go into that question.
Because some explain that we're marginal energy. Actually, we never developed prema bhakti. We're just marginal. We never develop it. We're just somewhere in the middle, and this is
That's
where
not in Prabhupada's books. That's not in Prabhupada's books. But the Bhagavatam say Jai and Vijay. Did they come from the Brahmajyoti? No. They were capers of Vaikuntha.
But they play a role.
Hmm?
They play a role.
Yeah, sure. We play all a role. That, we have all our relationship with Krishna. We play all a role. Okay, good. We continue. Krishna says it's troublesome, this path. The process of Jnana Yoga, although ultimately beginning one to the same goal, is very troublesome. It is the same goal because Parnam Jnanamantam Vasudeva Sarvamiti, Jnanpam Pravachanti, Vasudeva Sarvamiti, Samatma Sudolava. After many births of impersonal strife, one comes to the point, yes, Krishna is all pervading that, and then they come to Bhakti Yoga. But after many births, it's a very, very long process. And then still one has to start with Bhakti Yoga. Why not taking direct that? Whereas the power of Bhakti Yoga, the process being in direct service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead is easier and is natural for the embodied soul. That. So then Srila Prabhupada in the Purpose speaks about worship of the deity, Saguna worship. It's like a mailbox. That's, you have a mailbox from the official post. If you post your letter there, it will achieve destination. But when you put your letter in another post box, it will not achieve the destination. And that's, yeah. So that's, therefore the worship of the deity is authorized. It's not authorized representation of Krishna. Further, a person in Krishna consciousness engaged in devotional service simply by the guidance of the bona fide spiritual master, simply offering regulative obeisance unto the deity, simply by hearing the glories of the Lord, and simply by eating the remnants of footsteps offered to the Lord, realizes the Supreme Personality of Godhead very easily. There is no doubt that impersonalists are unnecessarily taking a troublesome task with the risk of not realizing the Absolute. And that's a fact. It's a very risky business. Therefore, it is advised here that one should not take up this troublesome path of self-realization because there is uncertainty in the ultimate result. Uncertainty. It's very tricky because sometimes we think, yes, we are from the West. In Christianity, you have one God, and we serve also God there. That was very familiar to come to Vaishnavism, only one God, and you serve. That's serving God is the same thing. And Christianity has the purpose of developing love for Godhead. That's the purpose, to develop love for God. That's the first commandment of Moses. The first, developing all your love for God. So that's there. That was all the same. But still, that impersonal idea creeps into the theologies of Christianity. Cannot imagine. In 1982-81, I was in Villaggio Hare Krishna in Italy, and there was Monseigneur. What was his name? Irish name. I forgot his name, but he was responsible for the relations between the Vatican and the Hindus, because he was from India. He was an Indian who grew up as a Christian, and he went to America, got a PhD in the study of religion. His PhD was proving that he wanted to prove that or discredit Bhagavad Gita, which he did in his PhD thesis. And then he became responsible for the relationships, and he came to Vilassya Hare Krishna to speak. And one devotee asked him, what is the form of God that the Christians accept or the Catholics accept? And that was very shocking what he said. He said, we accept only this form that Moses saw on the mountain in the bush. This light white effulgence. And we don't accept any other form. So finally, according to his interpretation, God is impersonal, is such a light.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
This is Catholic.
Well, we must be careful not to generalize that throughout all Catholics. That's what he said.
Yeah.
As representatives of the Vatican. So how this impersonalist thing capes in, that it's crazy. Yeah. Therefore, it is advised here that one should not take up this troublesome path of self-realization, because there is uncertainty in the ultimate result. Why? The blissful portion is not realized. We want this happiness, that it's not realized. It's a long practice of impersonalist and becomes a source of trouble. So unmanifested realization is against the nature of the spiritual blissful self. It's just not natural for us. If one wants to ignore this devotional service, there is a danger of turning to atheism. And that's what they all do. That we are all God. Brahman, you are God, I'm God. But if that is so, why are we suffering? Why are we in trouble? But then, in 6-7, Krishna gives the position of a devotee. Yetu sarvani karmani mai sanyasya matpara ananyaneva yogena mam dayanta upashate tesam nasa aum samudarta mrityu samsarachagrat bhavamina asharat bharta maya vasita shetisam. But those who worship me, giving up all their activities unto me, and being devoted to me, without deviation, engaged in devotional service, always meditating upon me, having fixed their mind upon me, O sin of Pitta, for them I am the swift deliverer from the ocean of birth and death. It's not in that edition, but this beautiful painting of Garuda, of Garuda is flying, and Lord Vishnu picks up the devotee who is swimming in the material ocean, takes him at his sikha and lifts him out of the material ocean of birth and death. So that's Krishna will take care of our spiritual advancement and will bring us back to the spiritual world ultimately. It's not just by our endeavor. That our endeavor is there. Follow sadhana and so on, following Krishna's instructions. And Krishna reciprocates. Spiritual law. Ye yatamam pavachanti tamstadeva vajamyam. And he takes care. The devotee always learns to depend on Krishna. That Ambarish Maharaj was always engaged in the worship of the Lord. That, but when what's his name? Durvasa Muni. He was going to cause Ambarish Maharaj's trouble by creating a demon from his hair. He took a hair from one of his hairs, smashed it on the ground, and a big demon was created, which was meant to kill Ambarish Maharaj. And suddenly Krishna's chakra appeared and killed him and started to chase after Durvasa Muni. So devotee, Krishna takes care of him. We can only be the instrument, that's we learned in the previous chapter. Nirmita Matram, that's the only thing. We have just to be Krishna's instrument, and Krishna takes care of us. So his duty to render service to the Lord, and if he does not, then he will render service to Maya. So that's our choice. It does not matter in what kind of work one engages, but that work should be done only for Krishna. The devotee does not desire any achievement other than pleasing the Supreme Personality of Godhead, trying in our devotional service just to be satisfied with that. The process is very simple. One can devote himself in his occupation and engage at the same time in chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So the devotee does not need to wait to become very experienced in order to transfer himself to the spiritual sky. Someone asked Srila Prabhupada, if we are 90% pure, will Krishna accept us? Srila Prabhupada said, yes. And if we are 8% pure, Srila Prabhupada said, yes, but he would not go lower. So we must not to become fully experienced. That 80%. That's quite high, but anyway, we have to purify ourselves as much as possible. It's not that at the time of death you are in Sattva Guna. That's hopefully if we can absorb ourselves in Krishna. But we should never forget his body is material nature. The mind is made of material nature. That as long as we are a little absorbed in it. But Krishna takes care. If we are mostly pure, then we will take birth and be transferred to a universe where Krishna is his pastime. There we will be further trained up. But that's already considered the spiritual birth. And there, by association with Nitya Siddhas, we will get completely pure and go back to the spiritual world. That's explained, let me explain it. That explains, because I can say these things, but they need a scriptural backup. So let me first explain why I'm saying that. Because in the 10th canto, when Lord Ram came to the Dandakaranya forest, there were sages who were quite advanced in spiritual life, and they requested Lord Ram, let us have with you a conjugal relationship. But Lord Ram said, not possible in my incarnation, Ekapatni. I have only one wife. But in a few million years I come back as Krishna. And then you can have a relationship with me. So they took birth as gopis. Yeah. They they are called the Munichari gopis, I think, yeah. And they were trained up further. And finally they got to participate in the rasa dance. Krishna and got perfection. But that's an example. That's Krishna brings us to a place where it is pastimes. Yeah, but not much to worry about that. It happens now already. Because Lord Chaitanya and his associates, that we are part of his movement. We are part of his pastimes, spreading the Sankirtan. We are already on that road. That's interesting. Anyway, yes, you wanted to ask something?
Yeah, I wanted to ask you answered the question, so where we can find because I heard this many times that this when we're almost completely pure, you can take a bird in Bhumi Vrindavan,
Yeah.
and then you can become trained up. And I never found that.
Yeah,
way
you have to
can-
read all Srila books. You will come across these things. It's explained in the Bhagavatam, especially in that section. Also, it's explained. That one. Yes. Here clearly states here that he himself becomes the deliverer. A child is completely cared for by his parents, and thus his position is secure. The Supreme Lord, by his mercy, comes at once riding on his bird carrier Garuda, at once deliver the devotee from material existence. Therefore Krishna says, Ma Sucha, don't worry, I will deliver you. So, therefore, the conclusion of Bhagavad Gita is Sarvadram Pritya Mamkam Sram Vacham Transvara Papyam Aksishya Matsha. One should give up all other poses of self-realization and simply execute devotional service in Krishna consciousness. So I'm going to give you this tree. You can exchange it. This is what we discussed today. This morning it was a long section that we will see the rest of the second chapter, discuss the rest of this 12th chapter this afternoon. Thank you very much. Srimad Bhagavad Gita.